Okay, hi, it's KB5 Big Boy. We're going to try this again. Hopefully, I don't forget to use the remote this time. We've got a couple subjects we're going to talk about today. Uh, Emergency nets, especially on HF. And my camera's about to fall. Let me get this situated. There we go. Uh, and we're going to do some little antenna tips from just my point of view on antennas. Okay, everybody knows we've got this hurricane happening again right now. It's coming back to shore South Carolina, I think, as we speak right now. And I've talked about emergency communications in earlier videos, but wanted to touch on this one again for this reason. And let me read you a post that kind of sums up why we do this, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. This is something I got off Facebook. This is why I got into amateur radio. First, I'm not trying to brag. Hey, ham radio cat. I'm just really happy I did something good. I was picking up my wife's car from the shop and I mentioned the hurricane to the woman behind the counter. She told me her sister and her boyfriend were on Sanibel Island. Sanibel Island is basically where Hurricane Ian made landfall. She told me she'd not heard from her sister in several hours. Last message she received said water was up the second floor of the house. I took all the information I could. When I got home, I got on the Florida Emergency Net on 7.242 and relayed the information. While doing so, her sister sent a text message via Garmin InReach satellite communicator saying, "Safer now, island destroyed, house standing but battered, I love you." The sister I was talking to sent me the message, also told me her sister was a group of 8 people and a dog. I updated the emergency net, relayed the info to State Emergency Office Coordinator, and then they had a reply before I even got off the air. Lee County has their location. We'll get to them when conditions allow. All of this was done in 15 minutes. I was happy I was able to help. I just wanted to share. Update. The sister and the group is safe and in communication with emergency services. After giving all the info on HF, I received an email via my QRZ page. It was the OP who I talked to on HF. He needed more info for the state EOC. I sent him screenshots of the message his sister sent from the Garmin. It happened to have the reply address in the message. The EOC used it to communicate with him. Again, radio wins. That's a perfect example of why we do this. And we all look at this as a hobby. Amateur radio is actually a service that we get to use as a hobby. And 99% of the time, it's going to be a hobby. Uh, but we agree when we get these licenses to maintain equipment and step up, if asked, to provide emergency communications in natural disasters, public emergency, whatever we're asked to do. And I was lucky enough to get to do that several years ago, not on this scale, but I did provide a local fire department with radio communications during an extended power outage during a winter storm we had. Glad to do it, gladly do it again if asked. Guys, a lot of questions I saw on Facebook this week about why we do this, and some people complaining about some improper radio procedures during it. The best advice I give to you new hams is this: wanting to learn the hobby and learn what emergency communications are all about. Listen. Tune to the nets and listen. But if you don't have pertinent information that needs to be relayed for the net, or you're not actively participating, supporting the event, stay off the air. Just listen, and you will learn a lot. The net controller has his hands full copying information down and relaying it as needed, and so on and so forth. Um, and that's one reason I believe you see so many nets that are just general rag chew nets, especially on HF year round. It gives net controllers practice. Now, I have done a lot of net control work in the military, and a net controller is the guy on the radio that you're answering to, controlling who's on the air, taking the information in. If he's lucky, he's got somebody there doing his logging for him. If he's unlucky, like I was most of the time in the military, you're writing a logbook at the same time you're answering radio messages, and I've done that a lot. So, give them the information they need and listen and learn how this works. This is one of the best things this hobby's got going for it is providing support when we're asked to, and this is the best way to learn it. That's about all I can say on it. I personally, my feeling on average rag chew nets, I don't check in with them, uh, strictly because of the amount of net time I had to run in the military, and even though I've been retired for 20 years, I like the way we do our round table. But as far as me being a formal net check-in type person, I usually stay away from them. That's just personal preference. But if I'm asked, I will definitely step up in an emergency to support anything I'm asked to do. Same principles apply to Skywarn, and you're more than likely to be involved with Skywarn as a ham than you probably would be on a major emergency net such as hurricanes, unless you live in that area. So get Skywarn certified and listen to those nets. You'll learn a lot from them right there. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about antenna tips, especially for new guys wanting to get into HF, and especially if you're a general and above, and techs on 10 too. All this applies. Uh, just give you a rundown of my antennas that I have in the air right now. I have a 50-foot push-up pole with a rotor on it. On top of it, I have a 3-element 2-meter Yagi homebrew that there's a video on if you can scroll back through. I have the 2-element 10-meter Moxon halfway down the mast. And on the very bottom of the mast, right on top of the rotor, I have a MFJ 17-meter single-band rotatable dipole using the MFJ ham sticks. Works great. I've got, on another pole, I've got a Diamond 2-meter 440 quarter wave dual band vertical and a homebrew 6-meter rotatable dipole. I do have an 11-meter base antenna up, and if you look at an earlier video, you know why I've got that up. Belonged to a friend of mine. And I also have a Hustler 5BTV vertical in the backyard, and I put up this 4-band dipole that I won back in the summer, which covers 12, 17, 20, and 40. That's what I have up right now. Now, guys, when you're planning out your antenna array, especially for first-time HF guys, you've got to realize and plan what you're going to do, the type of communicating you're going to do. If you want to talk ground wave, especially on 10, now, propagation gets different below 20 meters. We're going to talk about ground wave at 10 meters for a moment. One of the key things you're going to have to remember is everybody's got to be polarized the same. And antenna height will help there immensely. I know Jeff and I, when we got back in the hobby several years ago, we had G5 RVs up, and we could hear each other, but it wasn't real good for ground wave at the distance we were apart. And we're only, QRZ says 12 miles, and I think it's closer to 20, we both do. But we put up single band dipoles, and that improved. And now he's got a rotatable dipole up about 40 feet, and I've got my 10-meter Moxon up over 50 feet, and we have real good ground wave signal. And we're getting reliable stations ground wave up to about 35, 40 miles away. Band propagates differently at night. Sometimes we get some DX stations checking in with us, and we get people around the country. Now, a good example of different polarization and things with antennas, last night, KV5SIX, Vern 6, was at Lake Ouachita and wanted to check in with us, and we knew 10 meters probably wasn't going to work because we're too far out of ground wave and too close in the skip zone. So we tried 10, didn't work, and Vern told us, text me and told me what 40-meter frequency was on. Now this is a good example of 3 different antennas and 2 different power outputs. Vern was running 8-watt QRP through a portable end-fed long wire. I'm running 100 watts up with this 40-meter dipole, which is the top of the 4-band dipole, and it's up about 35 feet, orientated due east and west. Jeff was running his Hustler 5BTV vertical on the ground at 100 watts. Vern was 5'9" plus 10 on me here at Avery. Jeff said he was 5'9" on him, and we both were like 5'9" on Vern. But Jeff and I could hear Jeff and understand him, but it was like about a 4x3 signal, and I think a lot of that largely is just a difference in polarization of the antennas. So that's something to consider. If you got to have some ground wave stations that you're going to try to talk to, especially on 10, everybody's going to have to be polarized the same, and you're going to have an elevated antenna to have reliable ground wave. If all you going to do is work DX, anything you work with should work fine. A ground mounted vertical, a homemade dipole, your long wire, anything. Now, you get below 20 meters, you run into a couple different propagation and a higher noise floor. Like I had like an S9 noise floor last night, even though Vern had such a good signal, I did have a high noise floor. And I've had a high noise floor on 160 and 80, and Jeff said he's seen the same thing. So that's something you just have to contend with. I still recommend this right here. If you want to build antennas or just learn about antennas in general, this is a used ARRL antenna book. They sell them new. I think it's on the CDs now. Look at a used bookstore. It doesn't have to be the current version of it because all the air theory and antenna designs are still viable. So plan your array out and find out the best way you want to operate. And we highly recommend experimentation and building antennas. It's a lot of fun and saves you some money. That's one of the fun parts of the hobby. All right, guys. Well, that's about all I can rattle on for today. I'm going to remember this time. I turned it off and didn't have it ready to turn off here. Remember Main Trading Company, Paris, Texas. Good place for ham radio gear. A lot of different Facebook pages. Look up ham radio on Facebook. You'll get all kinds of information. There'll be a picture on here of a ham fest coming up in Alabama, along with some other pictures I'm going to put on the end of this. We're at 733. We'll get a little closer to 800. We'll do another giveaway. This is KB5 MIQ Big Boy 73.